So in this fourth video, we're going to move at a slightly higher level, at a more intermediate level. I'm going to assume you understand how functions basically work, and you're reasonably confident in, the mechanics and basic concepts. In this one, I want to just give you a classic example of how you would use or start deciding to use a function. So what we want to do is we want to clear our window out. That was our calculator stuff from before. We're not interested in that. Let's come back to our main program, and the example I want to have a look at is a maths example. Okay. In this particular example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link it to some earlier work you've done using graphics, because this will hopefully be a little bit clearer. And this is a question that has arisen while people have been dealing with earlier worksheets and having to deal with a little bit of mathematics. Consider this problem. The challenge is this. I'll write the challenge down. You have to create a circle using 2 mouse clicks. Now, quite a few of you will have already been able to do this, but the real challenge for you is that, did you understand how the code actually worked? Could you reproduce that code without looking it up? And do you understand the logic and the thinking behind how you could organize your code? So I'm going to talk you through it, and this is especially for those who might have struggled. Okay, so if you remember how we work with the graphics window, we declare a graphic window. And then what we want to do is get a mouse click, get information from clicking a mouse the first time out screen, and it's going to give me my first point, and then the second. And do another. So I end up with 2 mouse clicks. The logic of creating a circle in the previous examples and worksheets you have is that a circle is built using a point. I'm going to randomly just pick the first one, and some radius. So let's just hard code the radius before we come to the problem where we might need a function and what a function can do for us. You'll notice this is red. It's because I've capitalized the whole word, and that's very, very useful. In fact, I'll run it so you can see the error. Much more useful. Let's run that. Click, click, and there's my error. As again, I've said to you, errors in these kind of videos are very useful. It's called a name error. The name circle is not defined. Yeah, well, there is no such thing with a capital I-R-C-L-E. So what we need to do is write that correctly. And a lot of the videos from here on in, as we move up levels, will try to include as many errors that are typical, so you can start getting used to how to work with them. So there's my circle, and I draw it, draw on my window canvas, and let's fill it as well. Set fill, and let's give it a oops, I've done an extra pair of brackets, blue. Okay, so let's run that and just go back through some basics. There's my window. Click 1 here, click 2 there. There was the, sorry, it just zipped off really quickly. I'm going to put a little get mouse call at the end of all of this, just so the screen waits. Click there and click there. There's my circle. Now I'm more interested now in using the 2 clicks and including the second click to work out the radius. Right, now that distance I don't want hard-coded. I want it built from the distance of these 2 points. Let's try to illustrate that concept by first of all creating a line object between the 2 points so you can see what I'm talking about, and hopefully I can make the mathematics clearer to you. So we draw it on screen. So let's run that. So if you can see that, I've just created a line from 2 points and I've drawn it. So let's run that. Bring that into the screen. Click 1 here, click 2 there. Let's draw my circle as well. I'm not really interested in drawing the circle, so let's just get rid of the circle for the time being. We'll let it create it, but we'll just comment out these parts, and let's run it again. Right, so I click here and I click here. Now, how do I work out what the length of that is? What's really, really interesting about this is that, oh, bear with me a second. One of the interesting things about this, let's get it back again, click, click, is that I can have that distance at any angle. So let's run it again. Click, click, there we go, two different. But actually the mathematics to work out the difference and the distance between here uses a piece of mathematics called Pythagoras theorem. Now Pythagoras' theorem, for those who can't remember, is the hypotenuse squared. So I haven't got a squared sign here, so I'm just going to use the little hat. Not over there, bear with me a second. I'm going to use the little hat. So that's this hypotenuse is the length of one side, let's call it a squared plus b squared. Now, the question for you is oh my goodness, Pythagoras' theorem, I have to use that to get the distance, and I have to manipulate this complex bit of maths. Oh my goodness, what's that going to look like? Okay, so you have that maths worry, so you come back here, and then you have to try to work out that distance. So let's say that I create a variable called distance, right? And that's going to be the square root, using Pythagoras' theorem, the maths square root of my first point, x value. So I need to get x. Now watch, I'm going to go through this and you're going to see subtract the second point x value, right? Put that all in a bracket and square that. Right, let's square that. So you can do it in two different ways. You could probably just do it at the beginning of that bracket, math.power. There's a function called power which takes that distance, pop a comma on, 2, right, I haven't finished. Then I've got to add to that and I've got to write the power again and again. It's quite a complicated statement there. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, how am I going to go around writing that? What do I do? This is where functions come in massively helpful. Imagine I could do this. Create a function called calculate distance. Right, I haven't built it, but I'm just going to ask you to imagine this. Right, and all I need to do is pass it in the 2 points. Now, how useful would that be? And look at the code. If this was my code, it would be much simpler to read, because then I can just simply replace that word there, distance, if I spell it correctly, distance, into there, so that will get the result of that. And I've got some function called calculate distance, which takes in these two values. So I'm going to stop there because I'm going to ask you to look at that. And in the second video, we're going to start creating this calculate distance, but we're going to break it into even smaller pieces. Okay, and we'll talk about how and why we do that.